Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's David and today I'm going to be talking all about Starlink and me and Kaylee's experience with it over the past few months. Be sure to stick around until the end of this video because I'm going to be showing you a very cheap and easy way to mount it to your camper van. Starlink has been one of the best additions we've made to our van and has made van life so much easier for us. Previously, we have been using hotspots, public Wi-Fi networks, and portable Wi-Fi devices like Netgear. These were often slow, hard to come by, and expensive. Even though Starlink was around, we were very hesitant on whether or not to go with it because we had heard that it was very expensive. It was sometimes unreliable because you would lose connections. Things like tree coverage would get in the way of the Starlink. First up, let's talk about payment. Kaylee and I spend $178.50 each month on Starlink Roam right now. Previously, using hotspots on our phone, we needed to max out our plans, and in the US and Canada, you can only get a maximum of 50 gigabytes of data. Kaylee's phone, my phone, and then we also had a Netgear when we were in the States that we would do 50 gigabytes. That added up to a huge price tag. Now that we're using Starlink, which has unlimited data, we can reduce our phone plans and save quite a bit of money. We also got into Starlink at the perfect time. They were really promoting it in Canada because I don't think it was as popular. So we actually got a refurbished Gen 2 dish for $315 Canadian. Now I believe they've come out with a Gen 3 dish, which we are thinking about getting. More about that at the end of this video. Not only was our hardware on sale, but they also had 30 days guarantee where we could try it out, make sure it works for us. And what we did to do this was driving to like the most remote locations that we knew. We had no cell coverage. It was in the middle of the Rocky Mountains in between Alberta and BC, and we tested out the dish and it connected and worked awesome. So we were like, okay, this is going to be great. Now, over the past 3 months of testing it, we average in between about 50 and 200 megabytes per second. Usually an average is around 150. When you're in heavily populated areas like cities, it isn't going to work as good. People have also mentioned in other videos that things like tree coverage or bad weather can really impact the Starlink, but we actually haven't experienced that very much. We've spent time at campgrounds in Lake Louise where it is very dense tree cover, and we didn't really have any issues. So that was really surprising to me. We've also used the dish at almost every ski resort we've been to in the last few months. We've been on a ski trip from Canada all the way down to Utah. It's been snowing extremely heavily. No problems. It does slow down a little bit here and there, but it doesn't fail on us whatsoever. Also, if you didn't know this already, the Gen 2 dish actually has a heat setting where you can set it to snow melt or automatic or off if you want to save power, and it will automatically melt the snow off the dish, which has been really handy for us. Setting up an account online is extremely easy and you can actually cancel whenever you want. So Kaylee and I do spend a ton of time in the van. Since the Roam, you can go month to month. It's perfect for us. We can cancel whenever we get home and we're not going to be using the van for a little while. So it's really user friendly. You can just go on the app, cancel, and then reactivate it when you're back out traveling. And there are no cancellation fees at all if you want to be done with Starlink and return it. As far as power consumption goes, the Gen 2 dish consumes between 50 and 75 watts. We don't have a DC conversion right now, so we're just plugging it into our inverter. If you're working, say, an 8-hour day, this is going to use between 30 and 60 amp hours of 12 volt power from your battery bank. Luckily, Kaylee and I just upgraded to Renergy's 400 amp hour heated lithium battery, and it has worked phenomenally. I have a video on that if you want to check it out below. Kaylee and I both work full time. I am constantly in Zoom meetings, Teams meetings throughout the day, screen sharing, things like that. We're uploading YouTube videos. We are downloading content all the time. So this Starlink has been an absolute game changer for us. If you guys work on the road and need unlimited data anywhere, I would highly recommend it. It's worth the cost for sure. So Kaylee and I are in the middle of Utah right now, just outside of Hanksville, and I'm going to show you guys our setup for the Starlink. We have absolutely no cell service right now, and we've been here for a couple days, and the Starlink has been working great. Sorry if it's a little windy, but can't control the weather, unfortunately. Just mounted the router in the back here. I purchased this guy off of Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description below, but it's pretty easy to mount. The wiring from this runs to a plug-in I just have back kind of behind my battery. The other cord that runs up to the Starlink, I actually have routed up around here. You can see it runs down along there. And then I just drilled a small hole in the back of the taillight here. Wiring just runs from behind the taillight down underneath and to this quick connect that I installed, which has worked really well. I will show you guys how I did that, and I'll link this guy in the description below. But the cable then just runs up. I have some spare here I've just tied just in case I need to, move the Starlink in the future. I didn't want to cut too much. The Starlink is mounted on this pole mount right here, which was only about 75 bucks off of Amazon and has worked phenomenally. It is such a handy mount. You can pretty much mount it on anything. You can tilt it to any degrees, and it actually comes in 2 different sizes depending on the pipe. Then for this guy right here, this is simply just 3/4 inch galvanized pipe that I purchased from like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. And then I've actually just mounted it to the back of the tire mount using 2 U-brackets here. There's one here, and then there is one just up a little higher here. I'll show you on the side there. But it is quite sturdy. I haven't had any problems. I've actually driven with the Starlink up a few times, like around town, just going like 40 or 50 kilometers an hour, pretty slow, but never had any problems. And even in wind, like right now, the Starlink isn't moving all that much. It's vibrating a little bit, but this is really solid. I've mounted it so it can pivot 360 degrees. I don't think there's a point in it going higher. A lot of people get those huge extension poles, but I just don't see the point of that at all. So every time me and Kaylee move, obviously I have to take the Starlink down and then put it back up when we get to our next spot, but it's pretty easy to do, and I'll show you how long it takes. So first things first, pop open the app, go to settings, Starlink, stow Starlink. The Starlink will then tilt all the way down. This quick connect is so nice, so I can basically just slip it on and off. It's really heavy duty as well, and anyone can really install one of these on the wiring. And that's it, Starlink put away, and we're ready to hit the road. This is the neck gear that Kaylee and I previously were using, and it worked okay. I mean, you could just throw a SIM card in it, but prices added up quick using this, let me tell you what. And we often kind of had to use the Wi-Fi booster, which I hope you can see. It's just up there on the roof. This Netgear and that Wi-Fi booster are long gone. If I get a flat mount system, I'm definitely gonna flat mount the Starlink on the front right beside the fan there where I have that, since I already have an entry gland with a cable coming through. The other thing I just wanted to mention is with the Starlink being mounted almost all the time, we usually just leave it there. People would be like, oh, aren't you worried about somebody stealing it? Not really, because that Starlink is matched to my account. So if anyone steals it, they're not going to be using it, and really it would just be vandalism. Kaylee and I haven't had any problems yet. hopefully none in the future. I am really going back and forth in my mind whether we should upgrade to the new standard dish, but I really like the actuated part of this dish because you know it's always going to be orientated to the best satellites. And with the new standard dish, you kind of have to like place it in a strategic location, angle it the right way. With this, I just throw it up and trust that it's going to find the best satellites, and we haven't had any problems yet. Spending almost $1,000 on the new dish, maybe not. I think I would honestly just probably go with a flat mount for this guy and then just mount it to the top of our van, but stay tuned for that video. So I installed this right before me and Keely left on this big trip, and obviously mounted it pretty quickly to the bottom there just using some wood. Probably going to replace that once we get back home from this trip, and probably mounting it to the hitch. In total, this system costed me under $100, which is really affordable compared to a lot of the other mounts and poles out there, which you can spend anywhere from $200 to $300 to $1,000 if you want to. I just wanted something really quick and easy. This is what I was talking about before, where the wire was wearing. I don't think it was actually wearing on the swivel mount itself. It was just wearing directly where it goes in to the plug. So I've just taped it there. You can see that's how this slides onto the mount. There's a little button that you can press, then that tab goes in. It's also wearing on the other side. You can see a little bit of electrical tape coming out there, but I just wanted to protect it, and that seems to be working pretty well. I know it doesn't look all that pretty, even though I would definitely recommend Starlink for anyone who travels remotely, works remotely from a van, an RV, or from a boat. There are a few things that I don't like about it. Number one being it is very expensive. Hopefully the price doesn't go up too much over the next little while. If more people start to join, I know that will probably help the cost even out a little bit. The next thing is setting it up every time we come to a stop. That can be a little irritating. There are some flat mount solutions out there. One of the downsides I've actually had with the Starlink is the cable has worn in a couple of the areas close to the plug. I think it's because I've been using it so much and quite hard, constantly taking it in and out of the back of our van. And the last complaint is sometimes it can take a little bit of time for the Starlink to actually get a connection. There's been a couple times where we've been along rivers in steep coulees and it does take a little bit of time, maybe a couple extra minutes here and there. I have had a couple issues during some meetings that latency has been an issue, although it's very uncommon, and if you want to cut down on this, you can actually buy an Ethernet adapter that plugs into the router so you can have a hardwired internet connection. I haven't done this because I haven't found it honestly that much of a problem. Okay, will we be upgrading to the new standard dish? Once it becomes available in Canada, because it's not available yet, which is unfortunate, I am going to seriously contemplate it, because the fact that we have to set up the dish every time and we could just permanently have it on the roof of our van flat mounted is very appealing for me. That would save a lot of time. It would be awesome to be able to use Starlink while we're driving, even though it does have higher power consumption and it is larger. I think it could be worth it. Once that dish is available in Canada, I'm definitely going to take a deep dive onto whether or not to upgrade to it. With the Starlink Roam, you can also use it in Canada, the US, and Mexico, which has been very convenient. Even though me and Kaylee haven't made it down to Mexico yet, it is definitely in future plans. If you guys have any questions about Starlink, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one.